Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper, and today we're joined alongside Dave Azzopardi. Dave, how you doing, mate?
All good, thank you, mate. All good, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you feel a lot better after 3 points in the league, don't you?
Yeah, it was a good performance. Obviously, we'll talk about it, but the final whistle, I was so happy because you could just tell all the effort and so on they put into the result. So, yeah, it makes the weekend a lot better for sure.
It does. I actually didn't see the final whistle, and not I left early, but like on 93 because it wasn't because I wanted to go, but I was really struggling to watch it. Like my nerves were that bad.
Yeah, it was bad to be fair.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you're down in amongst it. Because I always say when we go to away days and like they put the board up, I always put a timer on my phone. And I'm just watching the time. I think, oh my god, like I just can't deal with it. But we're not alone today. Of course, we're joined by Jord. Jord, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I thought you were wearing a gilet then. Looks like it. Is it?
I suppose it is actually a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit of a sporting.
A body warmer.
Body warmer thing. Yeah. So yeah, Christmas present. So good one for the gym, to be fair. So it's nice to have on, and because my missus is out. My missus is still in the office. She's the only person with the access to the nest, and it's absolutely fucking freezing. So get another layer on.
But yeah, who bought you the jacket? Well, the body warmer.
Actually, my mother and my father. So it was a present off me, my ma and my pa. So
happy with it. Did they listen to the podcast?
My dad's a Liverpool fan. My mom, my mom's not. So yeah, whatever. No, so they do listen to clips. They like us on Sky Sports. And
okay.
My mom actually did say she likes the blonde-haired one when she's listened on YouTube. Says he talks very well. So there you go.
She must be watching the old stuff with you on there.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, yeah. She goes, the blonde one's very professional. I was like, yeah, there you go. I wouldn't tell you. I wouldn't normally tell you.
Horrendous judge of character, your mother. It could be further from the truth. Oh, wonderful stuff. We've got a lot to go through this week. It always seems at the minute like there's like double game weeks. I know we've got another one coming up this week, but we'll be looking back at Forest versus Wolves in the Carabao Cup. Looking back at Wolves versus West Ham, previewing Wolves Liverpool and Man City versus Wolves, and of course taking your questions. But Dave, cast your mind back to last Wednesday night. It feels like a lifetime ago. Carabao Cup quarter final at Nottingham Forest. Started the game 5 at the back. You couldn't believe it, could you?
No, I was upset with that. I don't really understand.
He was fuming.
I don't really understand why he went for it. I saw the team come out and I just thought and assumed that it would be the same setup that we saw at Liverpool, because I think you could have played Johnny at left back, Semedo at right back, and then obviously Aït-Nouri further forward. But I really don't understand what we tried to do, whether Lopetegui just wanted to sort of make sure we got into half time at 0-0 or just try and, keep us pretty solid at the back. But it just didn't allow us to have much of the ball and much going forward at all. I know Jord sort of said last week how poor Forest were, and again, I don't think they were very good last week, to be honest. But we weren't either, and that was the disappointing thing. I really think if we went with 4 at the back from the off, we would have had a better chance of scoring a little bit sooner. You saw their goal. I think their best threat was from those set pieces. And yeah, I was disappointed with that. Should have scored in the first half. Jimenez had a fantastic opportunity. He should have put in the back of the net. But second half, we were much better than them. And when it goes down to penalties, it's just a pure lottery. But, Dean Henderson's a pretty decent penalty stopper. And I can't remember many times us, we don't have many penalty shootouts, but I think, we probably lose more than we win. So, yeah, I knew as soon as it went to penalties, when you're away from home as well, it's always going to be difficult.
It is. I know they played the fight with the back, but I thought Johnny actually did all right in that 5. He's probably the best one out of the bunch. It was.
I think the players played okay in the back 5. It just didn't do as much favours in terms of playing, and trying to play our game, keep a little bit more of the ball. Because every time Moutinho got the ball and looked forward, there was nobody with him, so he almost had to. He was just going backwards all the time. So I just think it just restricted us a little bit in that first 45.
Definitely, Jord. How did you see the game? You went as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I was there. So it was. I looked at the team, and I think we've even said like I think Aït-Nouri's playing left wing or from the lineup, and then see us going to like a 5 at the back and sort of invite pressure on against them. And again, I thought they were really poor again against us. Like they had that little spell where when they eventually scored from Bolly. They almost had it felt like 4 or 5 corners in a row ultimately, didn't it? That just kept going from one side to the other and then end up scoring off it. And you know what? We had ourselves to blame. I felt first 25 minutes was probably as bad as I've seen us play all season, we couldn't pass wind. Dave's made the point there about Coutinho, kept them turned back. We just seemed to get trapped in. Totti Gomez was a nervous wreck on the ball, and we just couldn't get up the pitch. And as soon as we changed it second half, and we matched them 4-3-3, we were by far the better team. And even in that first half, like I say, I thought we were really bad, but I mean, Jimenez misses a golden opportunity, and Henderson makes a cracking save off Wang as well, which, to be fair, we could have got into the half time 2-1 up, and we didn't really do anything right. And yeah, when you get down to penalties, it's complete lottery. And Dean Henderson has got a good profile when it comes to that. And I was the same. I wasn't very confident. I felt when Forest missed the first one, the big turning point in a penalty shootout is just to take that advantage. As soon as Neves missed, my heart sunk a little bit. I just thought, you know what, that's where you capitalise. And yeah, as soon as you're chasing in the penalty shootout, you almost feel like one mistake and you're out, and that's what happened with Kundals at the end.
Yeah, it's especially when you're taking the second kick in order, you've got to make sure that you press on, don't you? Especially if they miss one. But Dave, let's talk about the goal that Wolves conceded. It was Willy Bolly, former Wolves player, who scored it. Very, very scrappy goal to concede, wasn't it? And just a note as well on Bolly. When he was substituted, he doesn't celebrate the goal, which is fair enough. And when he was substituted, he clapped the Wolves fans, but he got a standing ovation, which I really don't understand, because he failed to turn up for a match day in his last week at Wolves, which for me is just not something you do in any football club, especially a football club that's paying you wages. Who has really helped him with his career, really, because he was. He couldn't really get a kick for Porto before. He did well at Braga, but Wolves have put him on that platform. So disappointed the way it ended. But talk about the goal and your thoughts on that as well, Dave.
Yeah, I'll quickly go back to the penalty shootout as well. I think Jord said Kundal took the last one, by the way. I'm sure somebody will pull him up on that. So
thank you. Hodginho, there you go. Yeah. Sorry.
Hodginho. And his Instagram comments, which we won't speak about after the game as well. The corner was disappointing. I think it was, like I said, I think it was their best threat as well, really. And Morgan Gibbs-White taking him by the away fans as well, who got a little bit of stick straight away and then turned to the Forest fans to get a standing ovation. I think, the first ball was dealt with, but then we just seemed to freeze, and it was dead easy for Willy Bolly just to get into the right place to put it in the back of the net. So that was frustrating. I think it's always frustrating when you concede from set pieces, especially in our case where we're not scoring many directly from corners and free kicks so much at the minute. But yeah, the Bolly thing, I know you put a few tweets out about it as well. I do agree. I appreciate everything that he did for the club. He was a massive part of our growth back into the Premier League and into the Europa League. But I think what he did was a little bit of a middle finger to the club. And a lot of people are blaming Bruno Lage for that situation and what happened. But I wouldn't have given, I think we both just stood there and just
you don't have to boo, do you?
No. But yeah, I was surprised that he got that sort of applause from the away fans, as loud as it was anyway.
Too nice, a slot. Too nice. And then you've got, Gibbs-White, who, obviously didn't want to stay at the club, but didn't really kick up a fuss, who then gets dogs abuse. I'm sure we'll come on to that. But we were looking when the corner was lined up, though, Dave, and we were saying, we're such a small side. There was only, in that starting 11, there was only Jimenez and Kilman over 6 foot, really, because I think Totti's about 6 foot, isn't he? Maybe 6'1" at a push.
6'1", I think, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it was a real mismatch, and I think that's happened quite a bit this season. I think Jord will be happy to hear we miss Collins in there, who's been very good the last few games. But second half, we saw Neves come on. We saw Cunha come on, and that goal was an extremely well worked goal, wasn't it, Jord?
Yeah, it reminded me back of the Championship days under Nuno, and that wasn't because of Nuno's fluid football. It was just the fact that we were that much better than some of the opposition. We just carved through them like butter. And that goal was, like I said, that's as good as you see. Like if Liverpool or Man City score that goal, people are going wax lyrical about how moving through the lines, progressing through it. Nunes driving with the ball. Cunha, running onto the ball and put an unbelievable cross in, and Jimenez can't miss. And that's been part of the problem a lot of times. And there's elements that in the West Ham game still, which again we'll get onto, where we're putting the ball in the box and like no one's on the end of them. And the fact of having actually two players up there, I think it does actually benefit us a little bit because you actually got someone to aim for, and Jimenez was in the right space, right place at the right time. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he had a very good game whatsoever against Forest at all. And then he scored his goal, and we brought him off. And I'm thinking, this looks like it's petering out to penalties. And that's the one thing you can say he definitely hasn't lost his penalty taking ability.
Yeah,
and it sort of just shoots you in the foot. And he would have been taking that fifth penalty if it wasn't for if he was on the pitch. It wouldn't be Hodge. And I will.
He'd probably take the first one, wouldn't he? He'd have took the first one, I'd imagine, then Neves.
It would have taken Hodge out the 5, though, wouldn't it? For sure.
Yeah, they'd gone 1 or 5, wouldn't they? And it was one of those things. I think we were a much better team when you've almost got 2 focal points up there under this system with Lopetegui. And I want to see more of it. But like I said, second half, we had enough chances in that second half and enough of the ball and enough possession in that second half to kill Forest off. And we just sadly didn't, unfortunately. And I still think you play that game 10 times, we win at least 8 of them. I really do.
That was the issue, though. The only way we were going to lose that game was for our own sloppiness, unfortunately. That's what cost us. I know, in the game itself was a 1-1, but obviously it goes to penalties and then it's a lottery. But perhaps Wolves could have had the opportunity to make it 2-1 with Dave. Looks like a clear penalty.
Yeah, and frustrated. And it was just obviously after the Liverpool game in the FA Cup and in that as well. I think Graham Scott had very little control over the game. And it was a penalty. You've seen the clips back. The fact that his boots ripped and on the floor as well. And then it was from there really where the tensions, and the tempers, flared up really, because if he got control of that situation straight away, there wouldn't have been that sort of aftermath. So it was frustrating that was given. And then obviously Neves' comments that came out the following day, I think through Express and Star as well, says it all, where Neves got booked for a challenge on Serge Aurier, which I thought was harsh, the booking.
Yeah, he didn't even.
And then there was genuinely an identical one the other end of the pitch 2 or 3 minutes later, and the referee said nothing. So they didn't want to take any control. He didn't want to take any control or authority on that game, but it looked like a penalty to me. And that's where I'm still surprised. I don't understand why the Carabao Cup doesn't have VAR, especially when it's in Premier League stadiums.
Yeah, I mean it's a clear penalty, and the fact that Neves has said that there's different almost. I can't remember the word he used, but anywhere else on the pitch that would be a foul. But these kind of different laws for in the penalty area, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think of it, isn't it? Like surely we all know that, but for a referee to come out and say that, I think he's ridiculous. But unfortunately, we went out on penalties. I think Neves' penalty was pretty poor. I don't know what you guys think, but Dean Henderson's a very good keeper from penalties, especially so. But it was made. That needle was increased a little bit during that shootout when Gibbs White had done the celebration with putting his fingers in his ears to the Wolves fans. I don't particularly mind it because he got dogs abuse all game, and I think if you give it out, you should be able to take it. But I don't know what you lads think of it.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mind it myself. I think, like I say, if you give it, you've got to be able to take it. My problem with it is when Cunha does it back, like Gibbs White's like pretty much storming up to him as he's walking back to the halfway line, trying to have a punch up with him. And I'm like, mate, you ain't going to do anything. You're a fucking road boy from Stafford and you're taking on a bloke from Brazil in the favelas. He'd absolutely fucking chop you up. He would. Like, I don't understand it. Like, he was like basically going, come on then, and then hiding behind fucking Joe Worrell, like 6 foot, like it's just embarrassing. Like, just own your shit. If you think you're hard, fucking do something about it. Like, deck him. Don't like start giving it all this bollocks. And then that's the thing that annoyed me. And I don't necessarily mind the thing at the end of the game either, what he did, because it's one of those things. Like, I'll be honest with you, I know we got knocked out and the result was disappointing. I actually enjoyed being at the ground because I think the atmospheres at football have been really shit since COVID.
It was class at Forest.
It was good. It was really, really good. I don't mind it. I think it went over. I think it balled over and it probably went too far, but I don't necessarily mind it. But I think that my problem with it, like I say, if Gibbs White, if you're going to give it back, like you've got to be able to it's got to go both ways, and that's the thing that annoys me. And you know what, he thinks he's got one up on us now, and that's fine, but. He's got the ego of a £45 million player, but we all know that ain't the truth. And if Forest keep winning games, they're going to give us 45 million quid. So can keep going.
Yeah, I thought he had a poor game, to be honest. I thought he was pretty anonymous.
He was.
And it was a shit penalty. That's the frustrating thing. I think I should have saved it, but
absolutely,
it was brave of him to do the celebration, because if they went on to lose that penalty shootout, he would have looked like an absolute clown. But again, the first thing they thought of when the final whistle went is for him to come straight back up to the Wolves fans again. So, rent free. I'm just hoping that at the end of the season we can use that image.
Yeah, I think he was over exuberant. I think in the end, he was a little bit daft. It's a little bit daft as well when you still live in the surrounding areas, because you know some people are like they'll remember this in years to come, and I'll probably go into a boozer and see there and think, right, now's my opportunity.
Well, how many ex-players have come back to Molineux and maybe had a booed or whatever and just ignored it, and that's it? Like, I remember, there's different players, different situations, but he's almost just. He could have had a couple of boos and then we forget about it. But he's just lost. Wolves fans have lost all respect for him now completely. He just dug himself an even bigger hole that didn't really need to be there, because there would have still been a large, even myself, there was a large part of me that still respected him as a footballer and what he did during his time at Wolves. But it's all gone out the window for a lot of people now, I think.
Yeah, I just don't think he's helped. And I understand, like, we don't know what he's been subject to whilst at Wolves. I know that he's had quite a lot of abuse, and there's unconfirmed reports that a particular member of his family, who Wolves fans will know very, very well, was involved in the melee on the pitch too, which obviously we can't confirm. But his family have had it quite bad. We were involved. Well, we're not involved, but we were kind of in and around an incident, weren't we, Dave, at the end of the Leeds game, where his father was squaring up to people. We don't know what was said, so we're not picking sides. But again, it was that family obviously feel a little bit of disdain towards Wolves, and I think that's fair enough if they've been subject to that stuff. But like you said, Dave, he could have just got his head down and left it. But it was a little bit too over exuberant. But out of the quarterfinals, is it at the Carabao Cup? Is it a blessing in disguise, lads, or did you want to try and go all the way?
I wanted to go all the way. The fact we got there, like we got that far.
Southampton in the next round as well.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, we're in the ground and like news were coming in that Southampton are beating Man City, and I know the draw didn't work out that Forest have got Southampton, but you're thinking, God, if we win this game and you get Southampton two games versus Southampton for a Wembley final, you take it every day of the week, and. Is it a winnable competition? You never know, do you? I think we said on the last pod, it's going to be tough to beat Newcastle or Man United or City at the moment over two legs. But I'd rather have that chance than not. And I think would give Man United a better game over two legs than Forest will. And maybe that's me being a bit salty, but I genuinely think that is the case.
The positive I'm looking at is Forest might get to the final, but that's another 3 games for them. They're in and around us, aren't they? Might add to their congested fixture list, but it's a disappointing one in the end. But I would rather have won on Saturday than won on Wednesday if I had to pick one. I don't know how you boys would have felt about that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you want the points in the league, especially in the position that we're in, and especially obviously against West Ham United as well. So yeah, if you like I said in the last week on the priority list, the Liverpool FA Cup 3rd round game. I know we came so close to winning it and should have won it. That was last on the priority. And obviously the Premier League and Carabao Cup games were up there. But yeah, to get the 3 points obviously on Saturday was massive.
Let's move on to that then. Well, nicely segued, Dave. West Ham United on Saturday, who were struggling themselves. There's a lot of chants from and a lot of noise from the West Ham fans who want David Moyes gone, which again I think is understandable. They've got they've got a really good squad, and they're in and amongst it after a good season last year. But Dave, this is a massive 3 points, wasn't it? It's huge.
Yeah, and like I sort of said right at the start of the podcast, when that final whistle went, I was so happy with how they'd played and their work and the effort that they'd put in, because it actually showed on Saturday, for the first time in a long time, it looked like you had 11 players plus your subs that actually wanted to play for Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we hadn't seen that properly for a long time. And I know players such as Guedes, which I'm sure we'll talk about, they weren't involved in the squad, and Lopetegui said that was for tactical reasons, but is it because the 11 players that started and the 9 players or however many were on the bench actually, have put in their effort and want to play for this football club? I think the big bonus, I think, again, for the first time in a while, the squad depth is looking really, really good. And that's even with injuries that we've got at the moment. The fact that we were able to, bring off Matinho and bring on someone like Mario Lemina that just, really solidified that midfield three was really, really good. But yeah, I think we deserved the win. Across the 90 minutes, I thought we were the much better team.
Yeah, Jord, massive 3 points, wasn't it? What did you think of the game? I know you couldn't make it, but have you watched it back? And
yeah, I watched it.
Took it all in.
Yeah, took it all in, and it's a good performance, isn't it? And I think it's what you want to see. Like I say, all of a sudden, this team looks so much different. Whether it's the fitness levels, endeavour, effort, like you can get behind this team again, and it almost feels. I've seen a few people say on Twitter, feels like the project's back a little bit, and I think it really does. Like it's exciting. Like I do really think that Foden had to double down with their investment, with the chance of us going down, because it's shit or bust a little bit. But you know what? They put the money where their mouth is. We've obviously got Lamina in, Cunha's come in. We've got Sarabi's been agreed. I think the guy from Brazil. I think it's. I know there's rumours. I know there's rumours it might be off, but I don't. I think it's just rubbish at this point. You can you really feel like there's a good vibe around the club again at the moment, and it's it's great. Like this, been so flat and turgid pretty much all through Bruno's tenure. I want to say the back part of Nuno's tenure, it feels like it's getting back to where it needs to be, and I'm buzzing. I think it's a team we can get behind, and onwards and upwards now for me. Stop looking behind and just climb the table.
Dave, you mentioned there about leaving Gedge out and Lopetegui saying it's for tactical reasons. That's essentially him saying he's been dropped, isn't it? And then you look at the bench and you look at some of the younger players who are used, you'd still think that, a player of Gedge's quality that we've seen, not so much at Wolves, but at other clubs, that he would at least have a space on the bench. You think he's sending a message to him individually and the rest of the squad, either, book your ideas up or you're being bummed out?
I think a bit of both, and it's almost a little bit of the, let's say, like the Ten Hag treatment. He's came into Manchester United and did the same thing, and obviously I know Gonzalo Guedes isn't on the same level as someone like Ronaldo, but it's going to be Lopetegui's way from now on. And when you're in the position that Wolves are in, you need players that want to play good football and want to give 100% for the club. And I think it's been obvious since the first day that Guedes came in that he doesn't necessarily want to do that. I don't know what it is. Could he be homesick? Could he be struggling to adapt to, a new league? But yeah, I think on Saturday, I think that's pretty obvious that Lopetegui's sort of made him available to possibly go back to Spain, because no disrespect to some of the younger players on there, but a player that you're probably paying 60, 70 grand a week for in Gedge should be on your bench.
We've got questions on him later. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's come out this week about him being touted around other clubs, which is a shame for me. You spent a lot of money on him wanting to work, and I don't think he's really been played in his best position, which is just off the striker rather than out wide. But we'll chat about that later. But Cunha came in from the start. Jord, were you impressed with his performance? I know he didn't last the full game, still trying to get back up to speed, but I think Lopetegui was looking for a little bit more fluidity across that three, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's like the Energizer Bunny, isn't he? Like he's got so much energy and effort. And I sort of, when I had a few friends message me before we signed him, and the little I knew of him before we got him, I said he's very similar to sort of like Firmino, like very sort of like a pressing forward. He might not get you 20 goals a season, but he's going to do a lot of good work for you. I don't think he's a number 9. I don't think I know it's a cliche, a natural goal scorer.
Yeah.
But he's going to harass Harry. He's going to do a lot of things that Jimenez and Costa haven't been up to doing for Wolves, which is a bit of movement, a bit of pace. And you know what? It's good to actually see Wolves strikers making defenders turn the other way for a change, rather than being playing in front of them. So I thought he had a good cameo again, a good performance. And that ball he put in the box in the first half with his left foot, probably about
Excellent.
the 42nd minute mark, screaming for someone to be on the end of it. And if you do play 2 strikers up there, I'm sure Jimenez would be on the other end of it to tap it in if you do that moving forward. So yeah, I'm really impressed with him. Like, he's infectious. I think he's a bit of a cult hero already. He's already got under Morgan Gibbs-White's skin. Yeah, I just think he's going to be a fan favourite. I'm all for it, to be honest with you.
I remember when he was signing for Wolves, and I think they had someone on TalkSport talking about him, and they said in terms of a character, he'll work his nuts off. The fans will love him. The manager may not love him as much because apparently he's quite outspoken. But you can see it already. He loves it, and it's exactly what you want to see. They've already triggered the permanent transfer on him. No longer on loan, but now signed for our record signing now, isn't he? So, but the goal, Dave, came from a turnover in possession, in transition, a counter attack, and I still think that's the best way we've got of beating teams. We watched the Forest game and we watched the West Ham game, and I think that we don't really have the ability, or not at the minute, whether that's tactical nous or individuals, to play through teams and to carve them open, because West Ham made it really difficult. They just flooded the middle of the pitch, and we found it really hard to try and play through that. Whereas we caught them in possession and broke, and we scored. And I think that's how probably most of the goals are going to come. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, with that 11 as well, without a proper number 9, that's how Wolves are going to score goals. And I think that's how Lopetegui, tended to set Sevilla. Was it Sevilla?
Yeah,
it's Sevilla. Yeah. So how he tended to set Sevilla up quite often was on those counter attacks. But I think it was just before, I think we had Jose Sá make that little error as well with the distribution, where I think he passed it straight to the West Ham forward and we got away with it. But the counter attack was fantastic, and obviously it was started pretty much by Semedo, who I thought had a phenomenal game, one of his best games in a Wolves shirt. Yeah, playing it to Núñez, who again I thought was great, and then quite fortunate with the way it came back out to Podence, but you can't take anything away from the finish as well. But that was the first little opening that we had and really took advantage of. But it was a really well worked goal, good counter attack.
They did get a little bit fortunate with we coming back to Podence, but Jord, it's a cracking finish, especially first time. We've seen many a Wolves player try that, and it's ended up on the ring road.
Yeah, it's technique, isn't it? And I don't think anyone can ever. When it comes to Podence, I think people get frustrated with the flicks and stuff that don't come off, myself included. But technically, he's arguably our best player technically, or at least definitely in the top 3. And that's just all technique. That is, he's just hit the ball through the laces, kept it down low and hard, and Fabianski's never going to save that. And yeah, you can say it's a little bit fortunate how it's set up, how it sort of broke to him a little bit, but we deserve that little bit of luck, I think. And yeah, like you say, Matt, we've been so accustomed to seeing that end up in the Graham Hughes stand from the South Bank that it's nice to see one hit the back of the net. And like I say, it was just nice to come off. We were fully justified going in the lead at that point in the game. Like I say, fully justified the 3 points. And yeah, I would have liked to have seen us go on to score a couple more, but you know what, the 3 points is more important than getting 3-4 goals. If
come on, Matt, steady on. Bloody hell,
turn the corner, gonna go in.
Bloody hell, he's hard to please. It definitely makes up, Dave, though, for the dummy he did in the first half, where he had a good chance to hit a ball on the edge of the box, and there was no one behind him, unless like a West Ham player to give him a shout. But in the North Bank where it was, people were going mad at him, because that sums up Podence, doesn't it? Like, what do I always say? He does the really hard things, but and the simple things not so well.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was just, it was a really good move building up to it. I was just saying, what's the clip? Was it?
It's Harry Arter, isn't it? When he's
Harry Arter.
Is it Chalobah? Chalobah just turns around and goes, "Hey,
leave me." It's a yellow card. It's a yellow card.
Yeah,
it's bad. Yeah, but yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah, again, he does that quite often, doesn't he? One poor piece of play like that, but then he'll make up for it with a goal. Just needs to unblock me now, because, well, to be fair, I'll say that since he's blocked me, he's been unbelievable. So I'm blocked off Twitter anyway, so it doesn't really matter right now. So.
Yeah. Still haven't got your account back yet, have you, Dave?
No. Not that I mention it or anything there.
No. Yeah, keep everyone updated, please. That's the frustration it presents, but it's a fantastic goal. Lamina came on halfway through the second half, I believe, which gave Wolves a lot more energy. And like you said, I can't remember if it was Jord or Dave who said it just, but to be able to bring a player of Lamina's quality and experience off the bench, Jord, is it helps us see us over the line. But also for me, he can make a real impact from the start. So I think I've always liked him personally. He's just for me, he's a nice footballer to watch.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we were after him when he was at Southampton, I believe, and then when Fulham had him on loan, didn't they? I think, or did they buy him and then he went to? I can't remember, but I know we've been after him for a number of years. I even think they said that on his interview, and Matt Hobbs did, didn't they? The club have been after him for about 4 years now, and it's just happy that Lopetegui was out. He's on the profile player that he wants. I mean, for me, I've for a few years have stuck up for Dendoncker when he's come on for his cameos and said, "Oh well, he didn't really get a settled start in the team. It's quite hard to come off the pitch, coming on the pitch cold and all that sort of stuff." And then Lamina probably did more in his cameo than Dendoncker ever did on the Wolves show when he's come off the bench in terms of breaking up play, getting around the pitch. That tackle he made on Paquetá was unbelievable, and broke up the play, and we go and we break, and I think it can be a real asset. And it's so nice, like you said, we've already touched on it. Actually, a Wolves team to have depth on the bench. Like you look at the bench, there's actually people you can bring on, and usually the level drops because the quality's not there. We've been stuck to having the same sort of 11 to 14 players, core players, for a number of years. I think we're going to have so many options come the end of this window, and it's just great to see. Like I say, you almost want these people that can come on and offer you something different. And Lamina gives you something different. He's got legs, he's got energy, breaks up the play well. And,
I'd say dynamic.
Dynamic is probably a word you could use, yeah.
Yeah, genuinely is dynamic though, and like Nunes is exactly the same. Martinho, Neves not so much. Traore as well. Like it's just these are the players that we've almost been like crying out for like 4 years, and now we've got like 3 of them. We've got so many of them. I don't know where they're all going to fit in, which is a question that's been asked, which we'll come on to, but. Chaps, do you think we can kick on from here? I know that I don't know if you want to discuss the goal that was disallowed, which if that was at Anfield, it may have been given as we've seen.
I to be fair, from where I was in the ground, I thought he looked well off anyway. So I just didn't. I looked straight at the line. I saw his flag up, and then I just didn't celebrate. But I can't take anything away from the finish.
Good finish,
again. It was similar to the Jimenez finish against West Ham a few years ago when he kicked over Fabianski as well. But then I've seen the angles. The angles are dead tight as well. I think he's really unlucky, and it came from what I remember. The West Ham player headed it back towards him, so I think he was really unlucky with that. To be fair, but I don't know. Maybe and again, I thought his cameo was pretty decent on Saturday. I'm not expecting Jimenez to be playing 90 minutes and still be the player that he was, but it's just encouraging. I think he got that goal against Forest. Hopefully, it can give him a bit of a kick up the backside and be the player that we're hoping he is. And I think if you start him against Liverpool in the replay, maybe with Podence or Cunha behind him, it'll be interesting to see how he plays.
Definitely. Let's hope we can kick on from here though, because this is a huge win and it's dragged West Ham more so into the shit. So it can all change though, can't it? That's the thing. We can't try not to get too ahead of ourselves because we've got Man City on Sunday who I think have faltered a little bit. But if a couple of the teams win around us again, we'll be straight back into it. So who knows? But it wasn't the only positive of the weekend, was it, Dave? Because the Betmate pot was free to enter pot. So thanks to those who all entered that pot. And Ben Curtis came top who won £30 in free bets. And then a little known quantity in Talking Wolves, Matt, who came second and won £20 in free bets. But that's not only it. Dave came fourth and won £15 in free bets. Bash. Dave, what a massive day for Talking Wolves.
You know what? I clocked it when the game finished. I was like, oh my God, I finished third in the Talking Wolves. I was like, oh no, it's free bets.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
But it's better than nothing, obviously. So yeah, it was nice. We had a decent, at least, we'd gone up against the Hammers chat, the West Ham channel. So I'm assuming the guy at the top was a Wolves fan as well. So we had pretty much all Wolves top 3. So yeah,
I think Shiv was in there as well
Shiv did
in the top 4 or 5 who took home a bit of money.
To be fair, I used one of the £5 free bets on I think the Tottenham Arsenal game. I would about £4 something of real money. So not a bad return.
Yeah, I had to go midweek. I think it was a Newcastle game, and I was so close. But it's like you get to like the last 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, like everything just changes, and then before you know,
clean sheets and stuff, because your clean sheet points come in quite early, don't they? And like I always like, even like 5 minutes ago, I'm like, nah, that's not it. But then I think if a midfielder here gets a couple of tackles, like it just changes the leaderboard completely. So yeah, decent returns.
Huge day for Wolves and an even bigger day for talking Wolves. Right then, chaps, it's coming thick and fast. We've got another game back at Molineux against Liverpool in the replay of the FA Cup, which, if you're listening to it, is tonight. If you were listening to it on Tuesday, if not, obviously it's already gone. But we'll only brush on this because for me, it's not as important. But Dave, what do you do here? Play the kids? Is it? Do you want to try and win? Well, obviously you want to try and win the game, but what's the importance? Because the next round is Brighton away, which is probably one of the toughest places to go at the minute.
I think you've still got to go for it, and I think, like I said earlier, the squad is got some decent depth at the minute. You could go with a similar team to what played them at Anfield. To be honest, I think if you wanted to give Lembakisa another shout. Play Johnny at left back because he didn't get any minutes against West Ham. He could go with a very, very similar team, and that still offers you quite a bit of rotation. Brighton, are playing really well, but again, it's a one-off fixture in a couple of weeks. You never know what can happen. So I'd go for it. I think we've got every chance. I'm not going to be heartbroken if we lose because one, it's against Liverpool, who are, despite their poor form, are a good team, and then two, we can focus on the league. But why not? You want to go far in these cups, and we're a Premier League team. Brighton are a Premier League team. I thought we gave them a pretty good game when we played them. When was it now? Was it just before the World Cup? I thought we gave him a good game then. So yeah, who knows?
What about you, Jord? How are you approaching this game? Is there anyone you'd like to see from the start who's not necessarily been starting games recently? Costa looks like he might be back.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see Costa and Jimenez up there. To be honest with you, tomorrow in a bit of a 4-4-2. I think Klopp's come out already today, hasn't he? He said he's going to play the babies, which is what we thought would happen anyway. So I think semi-strong team, you hope, should be enough. I would like to see probably, I don't know, it's quite hard. I think with Dexter as well, he played well at Anfield. I'll give him another go. I think Dave, like you said there, Johnny left back. I'll be interested to see the 2 out of 3 he uses. I reckon Totti will be one with Kilman or Colin. Sarkic will probably play in goal. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The one thing is that anyone that wasn't registered for Wolves before the game can't play. So people who were expected to see Lamina, sorry, you're going to be disappointed.
Would have been a good game for him as well, I think. Against a bigger team, see how you get on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just think, I think we will win tomorrow by default from Liverpool going weak, and we'll go semi-strong to win it. But like you said, Matt, I think Brighton away at the moment, outside of probably going to St James's Park, is probably not somewhere you want to be going in the form that they're in at the minute.
Not a Sunday lunchtime as well. What's that all about, man? Flipping.
Is it Sunday lunchtime?
Yeah, like a 1:30 kickoff.
It's on TV, yeah.
What is that on telly? Who's asked?
It's because of the Liverpool thing, isn't it? It's like Man United are on TV against Reading, aren't they? And I think it's just...
Well, for Liverpool, it's a mission. And for us, it's a mission. Horrific place. The only good thing is if you're proper up for it, you do the weekend. But other than that, nah. I've still got flashbacks of that away day. What is it? The Wednesday night one. Mel Eves on the coach. It's not good, man.
What happened for those who... just a quick recap for those.
I'm sure I spoke about this on a pod before.
Yeah, but we might have new listeners. Mel Eves, former Wolves legend, as he made of himself.
Yeah. Tatters travel, Brighton away last year, December 21, actually, it would have been December 21. It was like a Wednesday night. Took 7 hours to get to Brighton. Watched us win 1-0, which was always nice. Took us a long time to go back, but Mel Eves was on the coach. We had very drunk Wolves fans asking him very suggestive questions. I fell asleep, woke up at 2 a.m. We had to have a service station stop. So I didn't get home until about 3:30, 4, just to watch a 90-minute match. And at that point, I was there like, these away days worth it? So, yeah, it's been a couple of times even this season where I'd have to almost drive to the place, watch the game, and then drive back. But, we won. So that's all it was. But it's memories that last a lifetime. Mel Eves getting asked if he prefers tits or us, So.
Just out of interest, what did he prefer?
He didn't answer, but then he started pulling up his trousers. So I reckon he's an arse man.
He's an arse man, yeah.
Bash.
There was a couple of other questions. Can you give us a sample of what else was asked?
What his body count was, but said in a much ruder way than that.
Did he answer any of these?
No, but he was fuming. Yeah, he came back. He had some good comebacks, to be fair to him. But I could still laugh if someone played me a video that I would still cry with laughter. Now it was phenomenal.
Tatters travel is funny though, isn't it? I mean, we've been on a couple of there.
No, the best thing was because the driver got lost first. I think we somehow ended up by I don't know what it is near Brighton. Is it Gatwick near Brighton? Fairly.
Gatwick Airport, yeah.
We ended up by Gatwick Airport, as in one of the entrances, and everyone's like, "What is going on?" So Mel Eves diverted it, and the woman steward goes, "Right, everyone, we've got Mel Eves going to say a few words," and they're literally so loud, everyone's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Thank you for that lovely introduction. It was unbelievable. Leicester was the best, Matt, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was because it was the first game of the season, weren't it? And the first away game. Yeah. We'd not been to football for months because of COVID, and he was like Mel Eves, and everyone was clapping, and then you could hear him talking about. Well, the first thing he said was it was Bruno Lage's first game, and I'd love to see. I know it's Lage's first game, but I'd love to see the fans give Nuno, show the respect for Nuno today. I was like, has he passed away? It was, and I was a bit that's strange. But then obviously he started talking about when he played and stuff, and there was a lot of young lads on there, weren't there, all drinking. And he proper lost his rag, didn't he, Dave?
Everyone was just talking loud. You know when someone's talks too loud down the mic, it's just pure bass. It just goes, and my language here, he goes, "Shut the fuck up." Down the mic, and everyone's just there what? What's just happened? Fantastic.
It was
for a podcast.
After that, I'm not sure whether I want him on here, mate. He seems a right character. And we don't like swearing on this podcast. But let's move on, lads, to the important game on Sunday. Man City versus Wolves. Jord, I know you don't like the term free hit, but is this a free hit?
Yeah, if you're going to use the word term free, then I'd say yes, because you're not expected to get anything, and we're not in their mini league, as I'd call it at the moment. Losing to Man City at the Etihad, if you do lose to Man City at the Etihad, should not really define your season. My fear about this game is they're not quite they're not quite clicking at the moment. I think it's a saving grace. They've got Spurs on Thursday, because I feel like they're just gonna pop, aren't they? Someone's gonna get a hiding off them, and they never usually do it to us. But I am a bit worried, I won't lie, about it. But yeah, I think the way we're going at the moment, we've got to take a lot of confidence from that Anfield performance. At the moment, it's starting to feel that little bit under the Nuno Wolves when we first come up that we'll take on anyone, we'll give anyone a game, and hopefully we go there and we give them a game, because I think they're gettable at the moment. They're very shaky. They're not the Man City that we used to see and accustomed to seeing. So if you can make it nervous and don't concede early in the first 15 minutes, I think you can really take the game to them a little bit after that period.
Dave, do you agree, or do you think he's talking nonsense?
No. It's going to be really tough.
It's Man City, mate. Come on. I know what you mean about the Nuno feel, but I don't think we're quite there yet. No,
we're not yet. No, but it's starting to. That's what I'm trying to get. We are starting to get there, in my opinion.
For me, it's the first big, obviously, a massive test for Lopetegui in the league. It will be really interesting to see how we play. I think the game we beat them at the Etihad when Adama scored twice, we played really, really deep. But at the same time, Nuno, obviously, we played that five at the back. The two wing-backs were the real surprise there, because he had Vinagre and Adama starting as the wing-backs to almost give you that bit more of an outlet. Whereas wouldn't be as confident playing that deep with the back four and the players that we have in that back four at the moment. But I think it's a half decent time to play him at the minute. I know they're going to try and get a reaction because the last week or so hasn't been great for them. But it's not a game you look at on the fixture list saying, yeah, we're going to win that, So I think it is. Again, people will moan at us for using the term free hit, but I think it is. And just go out there. If you can get a point out of it, that's a phenomenal result.
Dave, I know we moaned about the Forest game approaching it with a 5 at the back, but is that something you would deploy against City or just stick to what we know?
Stick to what you know, because I think 5 at the back I didn't enjoy anyway, to be honest. And I'm not saying that I'm expecting to go to the Etihad and watch us play, entertaining football, but I think the way Southampton won last week was that they surprised City because they went for it. They got in their faces, and they tried to attack them, and that's how Southampton won. So I don't think there's any reason why we can't do it. And the 4-3-3, I think you could play Nunes, and I'd be inclined to maybe look at starting Lemina there because I think that physical presence in the midfield as well could be a massive bonus.
Yeah, and you're right. We were listening to TalkSport, weren't we? And that's how I think a City fan come on and said fair play to Southampton, because you see so many teams just sit off us and they get picked apart. But like Southampton took the game to them and ended up winning it. So hopefully we can do that. But let's move on to the Betmate for this fixture. So the pot details for this week is the Sunday Prem double, which includes Manchester City versus Wolves and Leeds versus Brentford. It's £3 in for your chance to win a share of £300. And also, if you sign up using our link in the description down below and use code TW10, you'll receive £10 rather than £5 in free bets once you played your first paid pot. And that's if you're a new customer. So, chaps, do you want to talk us through your teams? I'll start with you first, Dave, if that's okay. Talk us through your team and why you think you might finish in the top places for the second week on the bounce.
I hope so. We're going with David Raya in goal, or Raya, however you pronounce it. I think against Leeds, he's got a good chance of keeping a clean sheet, but I think he'll have still have a decent amount of shots at him. So I think you get those save points as well. Back to, I've gone with Pinnock of Brentford. Again, clean sheet, and he's got a decent average over the last few weeks as well. We Cancelo at the back with him. Again, he's been quiet the last few weeks or so, and obviously Pep's dropped him a couple of times. We'll have to see if he gets a start. Pedent in the middle, I just think obviously he's got a chance to, he's hit a nice run of form, and I think he could get involved in a goal against City. But I've got De Bruyne in there as the vice captain and Haaland up front as the captain. I think those two just speak for themselves. And I've gone with Ivan Toney up front again. He's come back the last couple of weeks and grabbed a couple of goals, and I think he's probably got another goal in him again against Leeds.
No doubt Ivan Toney will be playing in the Betmate pot as well.
Yeah.
Jord, talk us through your team, mate. Who have you got involved? I'm just having a quick look at it now and can't see any sky blue shirts in there. Are you all right?
I'm not all right. I've given my words of wisdom how it's been going so well for me, and then I've completely gone against it just because. Yeah, I've got to be different, and if Man City don't score a goal, I'll be quids in, I think. So I've gone with in goal Raya, same as Dave. I think Brentford could. I don't think Leeds are very good at the moment. Brentford are in a good shot at getting a clean sheet, and I think he's got a good chance to get some save points. I've gone with Pinnock and me at the back. Ben Mee's been coming up with the odd goal as well recently, so he might be able to get on the end of one. I've gone with Christian Norgard as vice captain, and I've gone with James Nunes as captain. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Very underrated Danish international. And then I've got Mateusz Cunha and Hwang Yi-chan up front, purely because I think they're going to do a lot of defending and they might get some tackles and interceptions, not many goals.
Love it, man. I love it. Very bold. I'm going to go bold.
Thinking.
Yeah. You mentioned there, Dave, about Cancelo and not being in the lineup as frequently as he probably liked. He's said he's questioning his future. I did see one Wolves fan this week, I can't remember his name, saying, "Wonder if we could tempt Cancelo to move to Molineux." What do you reckon? Anything in that?
If you type in João Cancelo to Wolves, it will still come up with a Talking Wolves video from about 5 years ago where I pretty much made out.
He turned down Wolves, didn't he? I think was he like 35 million, 40 million before he was at Inter?
Yeah. I don't know. He's going to top team, isn't he? So
yeah, he's elite.
Yeah.
He's. I've gone with David Raya in goal, and then back two of Ben Mee and João Cancelo. In my midfield, I've gone with Daniel Podence and a vice captain Kevin De Bruyne, and then up top, I've gone with Captain Haaland and Ivan Toney. I think you're right there, Dave, about Raya. I think he'll keep a clean sheet, but I think Leeds will still threaten, so that's why I've gone with that, and I've included Podence as the solitary Wolves player because I think if anyone is going to try and score high amount of points, it'll be Podence just through. He might be able to nick us a goal. That'd be, he scored 3 in his last 4, hasn't he now? So that's what I'm thinking.
What Jord said about the tackles, those got me thinking maybe I'd go with it might be a last minute change, possibly Neves in there, maybe even Lamina if he starts.
Yeah.
I think the chances of you getting the decent tackles over the goal probably a lot higher. But
yeah. And that's the beauty of Betmate. You can change your team up until 5 minutes before kickoff. So you've got 55 minutes when the teams are announced to change. And that's probably what I will do. But I think Captain Haaland and Vice Captain De Bruyne, if they both play, which we don't know because Pep loves to piss about every selection. That I think that speaks for itself. But just a reminder of the pot again, it's £3 in. Your chance to win the share of £300. That includes Man City versus Wolves and Leeds versus Brentford. And of course, with all of this, please gamble responsibly. Right then, chaps, moving on to the questions. And I must say, there's been some absolutely fantastic questions been sent in this week on Twitter. So thanks to those who have sent them all in. We can't, unfortunately, get through all of them each week. Otherwise, we'd probably be here until 11:30 at night. And we've all got homes to go to. Even Jord has. So the first question, the first question is from Prudenti's Maradona, which after the last 4 games, I tend to agree with, but that's not his question. He said, how much would you want back from Gedge if we were to sell him, and is there a future of him at the club? Reports suggest that he's told Wolves that he wants to leave and has told Mendes he wants to go back to Valencia. I know he says he's been offered to Betis, but Dave, how much would you want back, and do you think there's still a future of him at the club?
There's a future if he wants it. I don't think he's intentionally getting frozen out, but the effort is obviously not there. I'd be surprised if he leaves on a permanent this January because I'm not sure if he can unless it's back to Valencia. Anyway, I might be wrong, but I think a loan deal. No, he probably can go somewhere else on a permanent, but a loan deal with an option is probably more than likely. I'd be very surprised if a club, especially in Spain, came up with that sort of money mid-season. What was the fee? It was about 27 million off the top of my head.
26, 27, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think not many teams in Spain are going to be coughing up that money, like I said, mid-season as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think, there's a place there. He's just got to get his head down and work hard. There's obviously it's flashbacks to Trincao because we've seen it at times, and you can tell there's a talented player there, but just doesn't look like he's asked.
I know he scored last night against him as well. Trincao. Scored last night against Benfica.
Yeah, I think Trincao potentially shown us more in terms of technique and technical ability. But what do you reckon, Jord? Do you reckon there's a future there for him? And if he was to go, can you see him going?
I don't know. I still think there's a player there. I'd like to persist with it because, again, like I said about Gedge a few weeks ago, like some players just don't take to Premier League straight away. And like I say, you saw the best of Trincao second half last season in patches, and Neto was probably better in second season than he was his first season. So I always want to stick with him. We've been after him for 4 years since we've been in the Premier League. Like, there's a reason why we've been after him, and I do think there's a player there. Granted, I think he needs a rocket up his arse, but at the same time, if he's not invested, if he don't want to be here, there's plenty of players at the moment who probably want to come and join us under Lopetegui. So, yeah, no hard feelings. See you later.
It feels a bit like the Cotrone situation, doesn't it? He came in, doesn't really look bothered, didn't really want to put much effort in, and obviously almost trying to force a move away after 6 months because same sort of thing happened with him, didn't it? So his career went down the pan very, very quickly, Cotrone. So I think Gedge has just got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, he got pulled as well, didn't he, at half-time at Forest, which...
I beg your pardon.
He was subbed off as well. Yeah, at half-time. So it's those kind of things, as a player, obviously you're going to be pissed off, aren't you? But I think he deserved to be hooked, if I'm honest. See how I didn't use pulled there. You need to grow up. Jake Gallagher has asked, how do you think Sarr has been performing? I feel like last year he would come off his line a bit too much and unnecessarily, but now it's the opposite and barely comes for balls. Thoughts? I think his distribution's been very poor, but I think in terms of his shot stopping, looks back to his former best.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from with that line one. I disagree with the majority of it though, because I think there have been instances where he has almost come to the edge of his box. He's played dangerously every now and then. Even against West Ham, there was a couple of times where he knocked the ball past Antonio himself. Distribution's been a big one, Matt. I agree with that. Saw it against Forest. Saw it once or twice against West Ham as well. But I still think he's not afraid to come off his line. I've seen it a couple of times coming to the edge of the box. What was the game where was against United or no Everton when he came out and just about beat Neil Maupay to the ball, didn't he? You know, when our own bad back pass. Yeah. So there's been a couple of times where he has come off his line and been quite brave of it. But I think the distribution's let him down a little bit, but we are, since Christmas, being the shot stopper and so on, he's performing slightly better than what we were in the first half of the season. We're just one too many mistakes, I think.
I don't think it's as much as the quality of the shots, the distribution there, but I think it's a decision making with it. He seems to be very kind of hesitant when the ball's played at his feet, and then just taking up too much time on it. And there's been a couple of times where he's nearly been closed down, or he's played it straight to players, or kicked it out I think he kicked it out for a corner, didn't he, at Villa?
Yeah.
But that was
the left foot though, and it's his left foot, but right foot he seems to be all right. Obviously, that is his stronger foot, but you know, long term, if Lopetegui is going to want to, and I know Bruno Lage tried to sort of implement this system, but if we are going to want to play a lot more out from the back, you're going to need a goalkeeper that's pretty comfortable with both feet. So it'll be interesting to see if that's addressed at all, really.
I wonder whether it's a Portuguese keeper thing, because Patricio was the same, wasn't he? He couldn't kick snarf a rope, Patricio. Like he never kicked a ball in his life. But I don't know. I know that obviously there's reports that they want to bring in another keeper. It's not a priority, but someone to challenge Sarr for that number one spot, which I think...
Best Patricio one, I don't know if it was Europa League. I can't think who it was against. We had won the game. I've got a feeling it was against I think it was Torino. And Jimenez did a dreadful throw. I don't know what it was. Left-hand side of the pitch. And he just launched it back towards Patricio. And their player was pressuring him. And obviously Patricio couldn't pick it up. So he went to volley it and completely missed the volley.
Yeah,
we just got away with it. But we were playing so comfortably. And Jimenez just did this wild throw-in straight back to him. But yeah, Patricio, man, he had a few clangers in him as well, didn't he? Like distribution-wise.
Yeah, definitely. And getting beat at his near post all the time, especially not like his last season. Awful. Richard Fletcher has asked, what do you make of the current pre-match build-up wise? In my opinion, it was amazing a few years ago and really got the crowd going. Nowadays, the music is poor and it doesn't build the crowd up. This has a knock-on effect at the start of the game. It's all a bit flat. And then he replied to his same tweet saying, I understand this is a bit trivial in the grand scheme of things. Well, I think Richard might have a point here.
Yeah, I think the sound system's not great at Molineux. It sounds like I'm moaning, but I think he has got a point. Now we are being trivial about it.
Yeah.
They need to upgrade the sound system. It's like on Sunderland Till I Die in it when they're like saying about playing during Sandstorm, and that chap goes, well, it don't matter what you play if you don't invest in the PA system. It's just there, just like fucking hell.
Yeah.
But no, I do agree. Obviously, fireworks are banned now because we don't play very safely with those fireworks. They always end up in the stands instead of in the air. But yeah, we do. Yeah, I do feel like he's missing something, and you know what? They should bring back the fucking liquidator.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know. Obviously, the club wouldn't do it because I want to go down a different route, but it's an absolute tapping for the club.
It is. Yeah, open goal. Literally, just get it going.
Absolute tapping.
I wonder if folks have inquired about it since they took over. They must have.
Isn't it like a police order that says? Is it the West Midlands Police
Council?
Because Albion is obviously West Midlands Police, and they play it, don't they?
It's not police; it's council, I think.
Well, there it is. Wolvo Council sorted out.
To be fair, it's that loud. You know, sometime years ago, it's not happened for years. From where I live, you used to be able to hear the crowd, like if it was that loud. But maybe it is just a sort of an environmental thing where people across Whit Marines and town don't want to be hearing the words "F off West Brom," But I don't know if it's just me, but on Saturday we didn't have the Flames at the start, unless I forgot.
They come out to Kashmir by Led Zeppelin again as well, didn't they? Rather than Cafe Del Mar.
Yeah, and they didn't do the halftime game, or did they?
Perhaps some money's going on a new centre forward, which I don't mind.
I might be.
No, I think the Flames were there.
Maybe I might have slipped since then. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm glad you have.
That half-time game, I'm still waiting for us to get involved in that, by the way.
Yeah, if anyone at Wolves is listening.
Get us involved.
Get us
involved. Sign up at the fan zone.
No, we don't. We're shut. No, you're not. I think he's got a point. No, it used to be because you used to have Noel Gallagher, high flying birds, didn't you? With like the little montage, and then you used to have the Kashmir, like someone else covered it. I think it was Escala, and it used to build up nicely. Yeah. Whereas now, I like Reaper's tune. Is it Pack?
Yeah,
I like that, but I'm not quite sure it builds up, and it's just a bit flat. And obviously, you're going to Hi-Ho Silver Lining, and it works, but then that finishes, and it's just like it's dead, isn't it?
Yeah. So to be fair, it don't help that Kanye West's his little rants, is it? Because they've obviously all been taken off the tracks now.
It's Designer Panda, isn't it now? That's what plays, isn't it? Yeah, that's it.
I got bronze with love.
Kanye's gone now.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Kanye's rants have had a massive effect to the atmosphere at Molyneux. Sorry, you're happy. OJ Bailey has asked, does Fabio walk into this team in the summer? Will Sasha work under J-Lo? Aren't you glad Beale turned us down? Let's dissect that, and we'll start with Fabio. Dave, does he walk into the team in the summer? I think I know what your answer's going to be.
Getting the squad, I don't think he'll walk in. I don't think he'll walk in. And I think Costa will probably go in the summer. Jimenez is probably 50-50 at the minute. I would assume you'd still want to invest in a quality, top quality striker. I think, like I said, I think Silva will be in the squad, but I don't think he walks in. Not into the 11 anyway.
What about you, Jord?
Same. I think he'll be in the squad. I think I could see him and Cunha working really well, to be honest with you. Like I say, like Dave said, I don't think Costa will be here. I think Jimenez is still 50-50 to be here at the end of January, let alone the end of the season. I think he's at best is here till the end of the year, at the end of the season, should I say. So no, he doesn't walk in. He's having a good season at Anderlecht, all being well, and a confident Fabio Silva in a system that plays to his strengths could be a really good thing.
I think he's struggled in recent weeks. I know he scored at the weekend, I think, or the weekend before was a good goal, but the goals had seemed to have dried up a little bit. But one thing that Anderlecht fans had said is that he works his socks off regardless, which obviously encouraging, but as expected. So you'll have Fabio coming back. You'll have Sasha. Dave, do you think Kalajdzic could work under Lopetegui?
I think he's got the right attitude. I think he'll have the right work ethic to try and get back to full fitness. I'd be interested to see. I think that's one of those things. You're getting back to fitness. I don't think we'll see him before the end of the season. I've got a feeling Wolves might have to unregister him or Chiquinho as well.
I think they will do.
Yeah, but give pre-season, give him a chance. He'll offer the club something completely different. That's obviously the reason we signed him in the first place. So I think he deserves every chance to work under Lopetegui. And there ain't going to be much to his value at the minute anyway. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how he gets on in pre-season.
Finally, he asked whether aren't we all glad that Beale turned us down. I really like Mickey Beale when as a coach, but I think what he's done with QPR is very disingenuous. To obviously turn down the Wolves job and said, part of the project, I couldn't turn my back. And, Rangers are one of the biggest clubs in the world, in my opinion. I know they don't play in the best of leagues, but in terms of global pull, I'm sure you probably agree, Jord, they are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So, but to go down that route of, I'm loyal to then jump ship, a month later, I wouldn't really want him as in the hot seat at Wolves, really.
No. It's one of those things. I thought he was a great, fantastic profile of manager for us. And I think it all happened with us. He said he was going to stay at QPR. I think he lost to Birmingham on a Friday night on Sky. And then all of a sudden he was like, I'm going to leave it to Rangers now. He did very much a classic Love Island U-turn. I'll drop that in because that's obviously back on the TV tonight.
Bash.
He got to Casa Amor. He found a Scottish bird, and he's gone, you know what? I was happy, but I could be happier. And he went and he was happier. So there you go.
Walk back down, walk back into the villa with Alfredo Morelos on his arm.
It's done us a favour though, because I think he would have been a good manager, but trying to grab some of these and sign some of these players that we already have no chance. We ended up signing
players with him.
Willock, you know.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to someone about the whole Beale situation, and he'd made out that, you know, he'd not wanted to speak to Wolves, but he had spoken by all accounts, and he had agreed to join Wolves. And I think he was allowed to bring 2 or 3 members of staff with him. Obviously, J-Lo's brought like 12. But obviously, he's had the big U-turn and made it about him being loyal. So it seems quite a disingenuous character from the outside. But of course, I don't know him personally. Josh has asked what's going on with the João Gomez saga. Apparently, we're supposed to fly in today, but now he's not flying until the outcome has been sealed. I've just seen Romano say that he'll be announced as a Wolves player.
Yeah, he's still insisting he'll sign this week. Yeah. I don't know.
Because Madeley said that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, I think it will happen. I think people are just reading way too far and way too much into it. So,
yeah.
I mean, this window has been fantastic so far. So, you know, give Wolves the benefit of the doubt. We've got Sarabia joining probably tomorrow now, which for £4.5 million, I think is unbelievable business. I know everyone's comparing it to Matinho, but it really has got that feel about it. So, I think Josh, just give him a bit of time. There's still half of January to go, and a lot can change. But that brings me on to another question from Adrian. He said, split opinions on Dawson's with the group I go to games. If they think he's too old and slow, I think he'll be a decent signing. Your opinions?
I think he's a good player, personally. Like, I think, again, I think I might have said it last pod or the pod before, you can't have 11 flamboyant, extravagant players. You know, you almost need cogs in the system to help other people flourish. And Craig Dawson will come in, do his job, 6, 7 out of 10 every week, kick the ball, snot the ball, head the ball, no nonsense, and he'll just do a job. We need a bit of experience at the back there. I say after Lord Connor Cody went to pastures new, and people still want him back. But no, I think Craig Dawson can come in and do a good job for us. He's a goal threat as well.
He loves it.
He loves a goal, and he's a penalty taker as well.
He used to take
penalties. Yeah. We could have done with him last week. So yeah, on all seriousness, I know he was at the Albion for a few years. I always relatively thought he was a solid Premier League player there, and I think he will be for us if we get him in. And for the money, homegrown quota, it's just a no-brainer if you ask me.
Yeah, I know he wants to move back home as well, doesn't he? And that was his qualms when they turned the move down at the start, at the summer window. Because I think his family still live.
They live in Manchester still.
Manchester, yeah,
because he commutes down, and at least we're halfway up, I guess.
Yeah,
so
that makes
that's
sense.
The main reason.
I think he still might have a house in Walsall as well, or by the training ground where West Brom used to train. I
wonder who the last player Wolves have signed who played for West Brom as well.
Ooh,
because obviously the Sacco, but he joined West Brom after the Wolves.
Yeah, Lescott went the other way as well.
There's a few that have gone the other way.
Let us know in the comments down below.
I'm going to Google it now.
Oh, come on, Dave. You could have got some easy comments here. A bit of UGC.
Oh, sorry. Comment it as well, but I'll give you the answer in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. No, it's quite a good question.
Yeah. I think with Dawson as well, you can see that the kind of profile they're going for in terms of just like big characters and experience, like you both have said. And I think that's why they've been linked with Lascelles, who I don't particularly think is very good at football, but in terms of leadership qualities, I know that's something that is a real strong point of his. So you can see what they're trying to do, aren't they?
Yeah, and Lopetegui, they played against West Ham, and Lopetegui was actually had some positive comments about Dawson after they played in the Europa League last year. So again, it's another one that obviously Lopetegui sort of signed off on and give his green stamp of approval for, because he wouldn't necessarily say he's a Lopetegui signing, would you? No. At the start of the window. So yeah, he obviously likes what he's seen from him as well. So
yeah, I think there's got to be a little bit of wriggle room though. If like Lopetegui's, you can't have everything, can he? Otherwise, I think we'd be signing like 7 Spaniards. which isn't always possible. The last question before, I'm sure Dave is looking into the last play for Wolves from a Mars Music show. What do you think the likelihood of Neves, Nunes and Moutinho all leaving in the summer? By now signing Lamina and Gomez, it seems the club is starting to rebuild. Obviously, Neves in the summer will have a year left on his deal. Moutinho's contract's up the end of the season, and the report suggests that Nunes will join Liverpool. So, seems quite likely that could happen, Dave.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's good, actually good preparation and so on from the club as well, for a change. I don't think all three of Moutinho, Neves and Nunes will go. I've got a feeling that Neves will stay, at least sign another short-term contract extension. Nunes, I'm not sure about. Moutinho, I think, will be let go. But saying that, I think Moutinho, even on Saturday, I thought he played quite well. I know it was in that slightly more advanced role, but I thought he still played quite well as well. But to get these players in as almost ready-made replacements just makes sense. Get your bedding in done now. You know, get the minutes where they can, and so they're all ready and adapted for next year.
Yeah. Jord, any thoughts on that?
I think Moutinho's definitely gone. I think this is his last season. Whether he sticks on in the coaching team or he goes back to Portugal for one last year. Yeah, maybe he will. And that's absolutely fine. And he owes just absolutely nothing. I think the same as you, Dave. I think Neves will probably sign a new deal with a very favourable release clause for a Champions League club. So it does everyone a bit of a favour. We protect our asset a little bit. We get the money that he's worth, like whether that's like 40, 50 million quid. Again, he's arguably worth 70, but he's given us a long time of service. I'm not going to really begrudge if he wants to move and someone comes in. I think Nunes is interesting because these last few weeks, and again, I don't want to sound like Udar, but he's shown a lot of passion. P-A-S-H-U-N. Passion. And I think the first 6 months were a complete write-off of his Wolves career. I would really like to see him have another year with us. I don't necessarily think teams will be clamouring for him still yet, although it makes sense he goes to Liverpool with their crying out for midfielders. But I still think Liverpool is working for Jude Bellingham, and that's where I think they're going to put their money. So I don't think they can afford 100+ million on Jude Bellingham and then 50-odd plus for Nunes, in my opinion.
He needs to develop his final ball as well because it's so frustrating. Technically, he's unbelievable in terms of going past players and just how he turns and stuff. But then so many times where he just floats the ball out of play.
Yeah. So it reminds me of a little bit, and again, not a Wolves player. It reminds me a little bit of like Moussa Dembele.
Yeah,
I think that's polished.
Yeah, Dembele was unbelievable. We've seen how many players who say, "Look, he's the best player I've played with."
he just had no knees, did he? But then when he played, he was an unbelievable player. And I think he's got that sort of profile. It's quick, strong, physical. Just glides past people, doesn't he? When he's got the ball as well.
I think dynamic's the word you're looking for.
I'm not using that word now.
That's all we got time for this week, chaps. So I've enjoyed that. It's nice to do it off the back of a fairly positive week, and hopefully on next Monday when we do the podcast, we'll be able to do the same. Although we've got 2 tough fixtures ahead. So, Dave, where can people find you? Should they wish to follow you?
Well, by the way, I think the last former Albion player to join Wolves was Thomas Kuszak, so you probably would have never have got that in a million years. I might be wrong, but that's the most recent name I could see. It's Dave as a party. Still not on Twitter, but you can follow me over there if you wish. Instagram, and obviously your LinkedIn. Thanks for the connections.
You might have to start building that profile, mate.
I know, mate.
Jord, where can people find you?
Yeah, so Jord7 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course Jordan Russell on the LinkedIn.
I am M Cooper Wright on Twitter, Matt Cooper Bites on Twitter and YouTube, and of course we are Talking Wolves across all of our socials, including LinkedIn, which of course is the big one. But yeah, let us know if you've enjoyed the podcast down below. Like the video if you're new here, subscribe, and until next time, we'll see you all very, very soon.